Have you ever found yourself lying awake at night wondering, why can't I move on from someone who barely even showed up for me? If that's you, know this: you're not broken, and you're definitely not crazy. What you're feeling isn't just heartbreak. It's a deeper psychological loop that most people don't even realize they're stuck in. And that loop is exactly what's keeping you emotionally hooked on your avoidant ex. Hi, I'm Jim Rohn, and in this video, I'm going to reveal the real reason you can't let go. And it has nothing to do with how much you loved them or how special the connection felt. It has everything to do with what that relationship activated inside of you. Unresolved emotional patterns that trick your nervous system into confusing inconsistency with intimacy. You see, when you've been entangled with someone avoidant, your mind doesn't just miss them. It becomes addicted to the chase, to the emotional roller coaster, to the hope that maybe next time they'll show up differently. But let's be honest, if distraction, time, or just moving on worked, you wouldn't still feel that empty ache, would you? That's why this video goes deeper. I'm going to break down why avoidant behavior feels so intoxicating, the hidden ways you've been self-abandoning to stay connected, and most importantly, how to take your power back without over-explaining, people-pleasing, or chasing after breadcrumbs. This isn't about playing games or making them miss you. This is about remembering who the hell you are and choosing to stop shrinking just to stay in someone else's life. If you're done feeling stuck and ready to feel grounded, clear, and deeply secure again, this video is for you. And if that resonates, make sure you hit subscribe, because I create content that helps you stop chasing and start choosing. Let's dive in. There was a time when just being around my ex made everything feel lighter, like I was finally waking up to a version of myself I didn't know I'd been waiting to meet. For the first time, someone really saw me. Not just saw me. They admired me, told me I was radiant, magical, one of a kind. And it wasn't just flattery. It hit something deeper. Something that had never been spoken aloud, but always quietly hoped for. The words weren't just romantic. They felt like confirmation of something I had long sensed, but never felt safe enough to believe. That maybe, just maybe, I was enough. And in those moments, I wasn't just falling for him. I was falling in love with how I felt about myself when I was with him. That's the part most people miss when they say they can't get over their ex. It's not always about them. It's about how we felt in their presence. Like the best version of ourselves had finally surfaced. Like someone held up a mirror and said, "Look, this is you, the kind, powerful, glowing version of you that's been buried under years of criticism, self-doubt, and emotional survival mode." But here's the trap. Instead of realizing that those parts were always ours, we attached them to the person who helped us see them. We mistook the mirror for the source. And suddenly we think we need them back in our lives to feel that way again. The truth? They didn't give you your magic. They simply reflected it. Your light was always there. They were just the first one to shine it back at you in a way that felt real. The deeper shift, the one that actually sets you free, is learning to internalize that reflection, to stop outsourcing your worth to people who simply noticed it. To ask yourself, what part of me came alive when I was with them? And then to realize you can access that part without needing them in the room. They didn't awaken something that didn't already exist. They helped you remember, and that remembering, that reconnection with your full, vibrant self, doesn't end just because they walked away. It begins when you stop chasing the mirror and start owning the light that was always yours. So let's take a moment to ask a question most people never stop to ask after a breakup. Who were you becoming when you were with them? Not who they were, who you were. Because that's where the real gold is. Maybe around them you were more open. Maybe you laughed more, dreamed bigger, felt more connected to life. You were probably softer, more generous, maybe even playful in a way you hadn't felt in years. That version of you, the one that lit up when you were in their presence, wasn't theirs to give you. That was always you. They didn't create that version of you. They just happened to be standing there when you finally gave yourself permission to be it. And once you start to see that clearly, the story changes. You stop needing them to come back in order to feel whole again. You stop believing that they made you special or loving or light. Because the truth is, they didn't. They just reflected it, like a mirror showing you your face for the first time after years of forgetting what you looked like. But here's the trap so many of us fall into. We confuse the mirror with the magic. We start to think, if they're not here, that version of me disappears too. And that thought can feel devastating. It can make us chase, cling, beg, all because we're trying to hold on to a part of ourselves we think is only available through them. But it's not true. It was never true. The way you felt when you were with them wasn't proof of who they were, it was proof of who you are. You were always capable of loving that deeply, of showing up that fully, of radiating that much joy. They didn't give that to you, they witnessed it, and now that you've seen it, the invitation is this: can you keep becoming that version of you, not because of them, but regardless of them? That's the shift that sets you free, not needing them to confirm your worth, not relying on their presence to unlock your joy, but choosing to believe every single day that the best of you didn't walk out the door with them. It's still here. It's always been here. And yes, we all want connection. We all want love. That's deeply human. But the pain you're feeling isn't just about losing them. It's about feeling like you've lost you. And the truth is, you don't have to. You can choose to show up as that open, radiant version of yourself, even now, especially now, because that's who you really are, and no one can take that away. There was a point in that relationship where something started to shift, not just with them, but in me. I had opened up, dropped my guard, softened in ways I hadn't before. It felt like, for a moment, I was finally stepping into the kind of person I'd always wanted to be, more loving, more present, more alive. And when I was in that space, when I was open and generous and expressive, I felt really good about who I was becoming. But over time, as their actions became more distant or dismissive, I started noticing how quickly that version of me faded. Suddenly, I wasn't feeling safe anymore. I was doubting myself, second-guessing everything I said or did, trying to earn back a sense of closeness that was slowly slipping away. At first, I thought I just wanted them back. But looking deeper, I realized what I really wanted was to feel like that version of me again, the one who felt enough, seen, wanted. That realization changed everything, because when you believe someone else holds the key to how you feel about yourself, you start twisting yourself into knots to try and get that feeling back. I got stuck in a cycle of trying to fix things, explain things, even trying to change them. Not because I didn't see the red flags, but because I needed them to look at me that way again, talk to me that way again, just so I could believe I was still worthy. That's not love, that's dependence. Emotional survival dressed up as romance. And when we don't feel like we're enough on our own, we'll keep handing our worth over to someone who's already shown they can't carry it with care. I became reactive, critical, even controlling at times, not because I wanted power over them, but because I felt powerless within myself. I didn't have the emotional foundation yet to say, even if they don't see me, I still do. I was desperate for a mirror to remind me who I was, and when that mirror cracked, so did my sense of self. What finally helped me begin to heal was realizing this. If I could feel that alive, that loving, that magical when I was with them, it meant those qualities were mine all along. They didn't give them to me, I just let myself access them in their presence. And if that's true, if those parts of me are real, then I can bring them forward again without needing anyone's permission. It was never about changing them, it was about finally seeing me. And from that place, I can stop begging someone else to reflect back my worth and start becoming the one who does. Once you really grasp what was happening beneath the surface, the deeper emotional pattern you were caught in, something shifts. You start to see the whole situation through a different lens. You're no longer just reacting from hurt or fear. You begin to ask more grounded, compassionate questions like, is this person actually treating me the way I want to be treated? Or am I just stuck hoping they'll become someone they've never consistently been? That's the kind of clarity that returns when you stop trying to get your worth mirrored through someone who isn't available to reflect it back to you. But here's the hard part. When you don't have an internal sense of safety, of I am enough as I am, it's incredibly easy to fall into patterns of control. You're not trying to hurt anyone, you're just trying to stop the anxiety. You want them to respond a certain way, show up differently, say something reassuring, anything that helps settle the feeling inside that says, something is wrong with me if they don't love me. That's when we start over-explaining, over-functioning, arguing, even begging, not because we're bad or weak, but because we've handed over our emotional power and we're trying to get it back through them. It's exhausting, and it never works long-term. Here's the real shift. Taking back your power doesn't mean becoming cold or cutting people off just to protect your pride. It means truly understanding that this person never had the authority to define your worth in the first place. The love you felt when you were with them wasn't a reflection of who they are. It was a reflection of something that already lived in you. They didn't create your light, they just helped you see it. And when you confused their presence with your worth, you started believing you needed them to access that light again, but you don't. This realization was huge for me because it helped explain why I felt so unsteady in that relationship, why I kept trying to manage their moods, control the conversations, constantly fix the dynamic. I wasn't trying to hurt them, I just didn't know how to feel okay unless they were okay with me. But that's not love. That's emotional enmeshment, and no matter how well-intentioned, it still creates pressure, confusion, and a loop of behavior that doesn't serve either person. What I learned is that people with avoidant tendencies have their own defenses: withdrawal, shutdown, detachment. But anxious types like I was often carry a deeper fear that we're unworthy of love unless someone tells us we are. And when that fear runs the show, we can become demanding without meaning to be. We try to manage every emotional outcome, trying to coax reassurance out of someone who often pulls away from pressure. It becomes a push-pull cycle where neither person feels safe, neither person feels seen. And while yes, avoidant behavior can be cold or dismissive or emotionally unavailable, it's also true that trying to change someone, trying to get them to become the person who makes you feel whole, is its own form of disconnection. It means we're not really seeing them, and we're not honoring our own needs either. We're just fighting reality, hoping if we push hard enough, we'll get the version of them we imagined. But that has to shift, because real peace comes when we stop waiting for someone else to reflect our value and decide to be the ones who hold that mirror for ourselves. That's where your power is, and that's the turning point. When you stop blaming, stop chasing, and start choosing differently, not from punishment or bitterness, but from a place of deep clarity. If I need you to be someone else so I can feel good about me, then something in me needs healing, not control. And when you begin to do that inner work, everything around you starts to shift too. So if there's one message I hope you walk away with today, it's this: your worth was never meant to be proven through someone else's behavior. Love doesn't require performance. And your ability to feel grounded, secure, and connected to who you really are was never meant to hinge on whether someone stayed, validated you, or loved you back in the way you hoped. That version of you, the one who came alive, who was more open, playful, generous, and emotionally attuned, didn't exist because of them. They simply stood close enough for you to finally access what was already there. And maybe for the first time in a long time, you allowed yourself to feel it. That's the gift. But the power of that gift was never theirs to control. It was always yours. The real healing begins when you stop chasing the mirror and start honoring the reflection. When you realize that the love you were so desperate to receive wasn't really about them, it was about reconnecting with the love you deserve to give yourself. And from that place, you can begin to choose relationships that don't activate your wounds, but affirm your worth. You can show up with boundaries instead of fear. You can recognize emotional unavailability not as a challenge to fix, but as clarity to walk away from. You're not here to prove you're lovable. You already are. And if you saw yourself in any part of this video, I just want to say, I see you. I know how deeply this kind of dynamic can hurt. I know how it can scramble your nervous system, make you feel like you're losing your grip on who you are. But I also know this, that hurt can become the doorway to your greatest clarity. It can become the moment you stop giving people the power to define you and finally come home to yourself. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. If this video brought you a sense of peace, validation, or even a new perspective, I'd love to hear about it. Drop a comment below and let me know what part of this resonated with you, or where you're currently at in your journey. Your voice matters, and this space is for all of us, learning how to navigate love from a place of self-respect, not self-abandonment. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I post videos just like this to help you break free from unhealthy patterns, reconnect with your power, and start creating relationships rooted in clarity, consistency, and care. Healing doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen when you stop running after love and start standing in your worth. You are not too much. You are not too broken, and you are not unlovable. You were just asking for proof of your value in places that weren't equipped to give it to you. But you're here now. You're doing the work, and that already makes you powerful beyond measure. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.